Bless you.
Where's Joe?
All right. Show energy.
Our place, where we can dream and share it. Our place, we'll find a friend to care.
We are Our Place Out Loud. I am your lovely and captivating host, Louise Palanker, here with a panel of wise and wonderful teens. We have Ryan Kiamute. Montana is back, everybody. Give it up for Montana. All the Montana fans. Hashtag where the hell have you been, Montana? But she was no apologies. You were starring in your school play.
Not really starring, but thank you.
You were featured.
I was
Ensemble.
I had like a
How
what?
many? Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Did you
sorry.
forget how to do radio?
yes.
Now that you're a big stage star. You were a featured in Cabaret.
yes.
And
thank
what?
you.
Who did you play?
Okay, if any of you know Cabaret, the movie, it's completely different than the musical, any of the musicals. So, if you know the musical, I was Fraulein Kost, and that I was the hooker who turns into a Nazi later.
Oh, two good things.
Yes, two
Yay.
good things.
2 checks on your belt. Excellent. So thank you for returning, Hooker Nazi. It's very, very pleasant to have you. And Nico is here, and Nikki, and Rhodey. So hello to everybody who is... Rhodey, were you a Hooker Nazi?
Yeah, kind of, but a way less classy one.
Talking to the mic. So
Yes.
you were a slutty hooker Nazi.
Pretty much.
Okay, yay.
Except I didn't have any lines.
Do these
Yeah.
all like cancel each other out or something?
No. They are complimentary, and it's acting. And in the studio, we have as our guest, we have the lovely Chantel Christie, who has. She is not a hooker Nazi, but
not.
Dare to Dream. She is an author, and she has a book that she wrote when she was 15, and it's called I Want to Live. And she has an album of musical songs.
I heard that you're like a singer/songwriter.
I am a singer-songwriter in the Carole King tradition.
Really?
Yes, I am. I have a beautiful singing voice. I'm often told by my own inner thoughts.
I
that-
want to work together.
But I am a really good songwriter.
Really?
That's something I love doing.
So
And
you're gonna write my next hit.
will you come sing it? I've already written
I'm
it.
here right now.
Awesome.
Okay. When
You
we're
heard
done, we're
my
gonna
work.
Go to the studio. It was brilliant.
The theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's catchy stuff right there.
Okay. It's my next.
You and
single.
I are teaming up. That's your next single.
Yes.
You're going to record a cover of the Our Place theme.
Yes. Oh,
Finally.
can see it all
See,
over the Billboard.
you
Hot
guys-
100.
I have to wait for Chantel. None of you guys volunteer to record the next hit.
We're
How are you guys gonna do her like that?
I'm going to show you the back because she looks very thoughtful. Like, hey, when's Weezy coming into the studio to write my next hit? Hey, when's that going to happen? Just wondering. So she's adorable. So look at you. All right. So but you're 20 and you have 2 careers. So this is the
Yes.
part I don't understand. Why so busy? Why in such a hurry? What about college?
I mean, I've always been in quote unquote the entertainment industry since I was little. I was modeling from when I was 3 years old. And I think that having a father that played in the NBA and having a mother who was, a fashion designer, I naturally gravitated toward a life that wasn't the norm because I didn't really know what the norm was. And so it was natural for me to gravitate toward things like this. And once I decided that modeling wasn't necessarily where my heart was, and I kind of seen the ugly side of the modeling world as far as like, hits to your self-esteem and different things like that went, I decided to take a different avenue and write the book and kind of talk about that and how to find self-love.
So it was almost like modeling taught you which sort of qualities you do not wish to aspire towards.
Absolutely.
The emptiness, the I am my body, those types of messages. Have not yet read the book, and I'm going to read it. But
Thank you.
kind of like what we advocate in the app, because I get a lot of letters from kids who don't like their body, don't feel that they're the right size, feel like summer's coming. I look at everybody else; they're the right size, and I said to this one kid just this week, I said, "How can you possibly have looked at everyone
Mm-hmm.
because we're all different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
Like 'cause they always want to say every girl is this and every girl is this. That's not possible.
Yeah.
There's so many different people on the planet. And so I want you to first of all understand you're not your body. You never will be your body. And looking in the mirror is not going to help you find you. It's you going out into the world and making a positive difference in the lives of the people that you know. That's how you find you, not in looking at your thighs or weighing yourself or all of
Absolutely.
these other things that unfortunately I know that the planet needs models
Mhm.
because we all need everyone in different professions to do their jobs so that we can all function together. But
Mm-hmm.
that industry, it feels to me like a really pretty girl would walk in and be told, go home and lose 10 pounds. And that crushes me.
Yeah,
to hear that.
it's very devastating, and I think that having learned that at such a young age, and being 10 or 11, and you got to drop 10 pounds, like just hearing that is so crushing to your self-esteem, and I think that carried over with me into my later teenage years and into my adult years. And I think that ultimately it helped me become a role model to other young women out there and say, you know what, regardless of what you guys look at me and see, I may look in the mirror and see something different. So you have to be totally and completely comfortable with yourself and love yourself before anybody else out there will. They may look at the girls on the magazines and see these perfect people, but you don't know how many hours of Photoshop went into it. You don't know what crazy diets these girls are on. You never know. And I think that being very honest with yourself is necessary, because if you're not honest with yourself and the way that you look and the way that you feel, the things that other people say will negatively affect you.
How do you generate self-love from nothing?
I think that it starts with an inner sense of self, and it becomes less about inner and outer beauty, and it becomes more about who you are and the message that you want to give to the world. And I think that a lot of times it's easy to get caught up in what you think the definition of beauty is, and instead of just being beauty, just instead of helping others and being kind and considerate to others, that's what really makes somebody beautiful. Like, some of the most beautiful women in the world have terrible personalities, and some of the ugliest, quote unquote, ugliest women in the world are the sweetest people you'll ever meet. You never really know. And so by judging a book by its cover, you take away from each person. And so that's what I learned from being in the modeling industry is I seen so many pretty girls that were so mean, and I seen so many girls with broken spirits that were beyond any beauty that you could ever list.
And they were the most unhappy girl in the room.
And they were the most unhappy girl in the room. And I at one time, I was one of those girls. And I had to find it in my heart and in myself to say, you know what? I'm not going to be the cookie cutter image of what everyone wants me to be. And I just have to be Chantel. Like, at the end of the day, I just have to be myself. And once I got to that point where I learned to love myself for who I was, nothing that anyone else said could affect me or could phase me or could jade me. I was just me. And people learned to love me for that.
And I love that. What a great statement. Who has a question for Chantel? Nico?
Hi. What was it like writing your book?
I think that it was the natural middle school, high school. It was like writing an essay. And for me, being that I was homeschooled and I didn't necessarily go to actual schools all of my life, I just went periodically. I think that it gave me the same experience that other teens may get when they're writing essays and they have to write these papers and they have deadlines. I had the same thing, but it was published to the world. So I had to be, I had to be on top of it.
And you ever feel super dedicated to writing? Did you ever feel like one day you could write and then the other day you were like, oh God, I just don't want to look at paper anymore?
Yeah, there were times when I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this. But luckily I had my father, who was like my rock through writing the book, and he was like, listen, we're going to get this done, we're going to do this. And he knew that I wanted it more than the days that I said that I didn't, and so he kind of kept me on track. And that's honestly what's necessary to anyone out there whose dream is to write a book. You just have to start, and you have to stay on yourself, and you have to remain consistent, and you can't give up. A bad day doesn't mean a bad life.
Montana.
What inspired you to do your album?
Inspired me to do my album. I had been singing since I was a little girl. I had the pleasure of having my mom's mom grow up with me. She lived in the house with us while my parents were traveling and on the road. And so she used to play, old greats like Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle. And so listening to all of them, it kind of, it eventually inspired me. I would always sing along. And then I got to a certain age at like 13, 14 when I was like, you know what, Mom, Dad, I think I want to do it. And first it started out as, a hobby. And my parents were a little biased because, I was their baby and what have you. But as I got older, I started taking it more seriously. And I think that doing that along with writing the book ultimately taught me dedication and perseverance and sacrifice and all the things that I had to go through being in the studio late nights and not getting to go out with my friends and do normal teen things. I had a bigger picture in mind. And so it's been very interesting.
You can give us a call if you would like to speak with Chantel. We are at 888-531-7171. We would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you really quick, because you guys have been in the headlines this past week, and your dad's a famous basketball player. Mm-hmm. Your mom is a famous TV star. Mm-hmm. So she went on this show. Maybe you're about 16, 17 years old, mm-hmm. and she comes in and says, "Hey guys, I'm going to be on a reality TV show." What's your initial reaction to that?
It wasn't a big deal to me or to the family, because we had the Christies Committed on BETJ previously, and of course it wasn't as large as this show has grown, and it wasn't on maybe a as big of a network, so it was a little different. We weren't really prepared for what would come from it, but I think that as a family we ended up turning into water and just kind of flowing with it and just letting it be whatever it was.
So you were kind of used to then having cameras around.
Yeah, I think having my father in the NBA, there were always cameras. Everyone was always asking for autographs, and so I was used to that kind of intrusive lifestyle. Everybody always picking and prodding, and so the thing about the show that she was on by herself was that it was her by herself. It wasn't necessarily us as a family and as a unit. And so we were more just her support system. We did film from, time to time periodically, but we were more of a support system than anything. And
your mom is Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you describe your mom's personality?
I think that she is a ball of fun. I think that she can be misunderstood at times, and I think that she's very passionate. If I could describe her in one word, it would definitely be passionate.
And when you see her on the show engaging with these other basketball wives, do you think they're told to exaggerate disputes, or is it kind of the way they would be if the cameras weren't there?
I don't think at all that everyone would be like they are if the cameras weren't there. I think that a lot of arguments would be prevented because most people would get up and walk out. Like, it's just not, but when you're getting paid to do something, you kind of sit there and you put up with a lot of things that you normally wouldn't. And I think that over the years, I think she's kind of learned how to deal with that. And you never really learn to cope with reality TV because you never know what's going to go on in the editing room. So you just have to prepare yourself for the worst and just expect the best.
Because one of the things that I noticed is that it feels like people are being bullied. Mm-hmm. It's the same energy that you would experience in middle school or high school, and yet you're seeing grown women behave this way. So it feels toxic. How does it feel to you as her daughter watching these engagements?
I think that in the basketball world in general, there can be a lot of cattiness amongst the basketball wives, whether it be because one person's husband is higher paid or whatever it may be. You just never really know. And so I think that a lot of the situations are they start out organically. All of the women, maybe they know each other, maybe they don't. And then once they all sit down in a room, they're all put in these in these rooms together. And then what comes from that, it could go real right or real left.
Right. And when your mom comes home at the end of a day of that, is she okay? Does she need to wind down? Does she need to talk about it?
I live on my own now. I haven't lived with my mom for the past 2 seasons. And so the first season, it wasn't as intense as, it's kind of built each season. And so I think that now we don't speak about it too much because it's become, part of her lifestyle. And now I think she copes with it how she copes with it. And we ultimately try not to let that affect our home or our relationship.
But today it felt like you were being cyberbullied on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so do you have a philosophy in terms of how you're going to react or not react to that kind of thing?
When I first started being cyberbullied, I was in such a rage that I wanted to respond to every person. I wanted to tell them, I'm not that person that you think I am. I'm not that person that, you may see on the TV or you may see on social media. And then it got to a point where I was just like, I can't fight everyone that feels a way about me. You can't fight everyone that, has something negative to say. You would be fighting all of your life. And so I got to a point where I knew what my truth was, and I just let it be what it was. I kind of just, I ignored them. I think that it's way worse to, ultimately ignore someone and for them to wonder if you've seen what they said in comparison to, responding in a negative manner, because they're just going to keep going until you finally have to block them. And it's just a lot of negative energy that I just don't enjoy having in my life. So I kind of I let them talk.
Right. Do you want to describe what happened, or is that too personal?
No, I think that it stems from the show, but I think that it's just in general me being the quote unquote new kid on the block and being out in the public eye, being 20, going on 21. I think that people are, they want to break you down. They want to push all of your buttons and see what gets under your skin and see if they can break you. And ultimately only the strong survive. And I know how strong I am. I know the things that I'm capable of. I know all of the potential that I have and the dreams that, I want to fulfill. And so I'm very careful and strategic with the things that I respond to, with the things that, I quote unquote play into. And I don't really let it affect me because at the end of the day, I mean, it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram. I have to go home and I have to live my life day in and day out and, be proud of who I am. So I'm very careful with the things that I say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes does it really help you to just step back and say, before I type, I'm going to take 10 nice breaths.
Yes.
I'm going to speak these words out loud. I'm going to hear how they sound coming out of me. I'm going to sit with that and feel how comfortable that is.
Yeah.
And see whether or not I would like to live with the history of having said that.
Yeah.
What's your process?
I think more so for me, I learned by experience. There were several times when I spoke out and I lashed out and I said things that I ultimately regretted. And it was like I had to touch the stove and get burned in order to learn in the long run. And so I think that a lot of times, having been in that situation, I could give advice to the next person, but unless you've done it, you don't really know. You see a lot of people that say, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But until you do something that you really shouldn't have done or say something that you really shouldn't have said, you'll never really know that feeling of like, oh my gosh, just cringing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that now I know, okay, I no longer want to feel like that. I no longer want to feel this way. So I'm very, careful with the things that I say because ultimately I have to live with it. Whoever I said it to, it doesn't necessarily affect them as negatively as it affects me.
Right. I wanted to get to a question that we had, and I thought it was, I don't know if I have it right in front of me, but the essence of it was that maybe I just answered it in the app this week, and I can't remember whether or not I printed it out for tonight's show. But the essence of the question was that the girl had an assembly or a presentation at her school about the dangers of posting anything online, how it lives forever.
We have that.
Do you have it? You
Yeah.
read it, Montana? Yeah, thank you. I thought I had printed that.
Hey, Wheezy, so this is important and it's kind of bugging me. We watched this presentation on social media at school and how you have this internet footprint and stuff, and how anything you press enter on is out there forever. And I've been really paranoid about my internet use now. I'm really uncomfortable talking to my internet friends and using internet media in general. Help?
So my first thought is that maybe the initial reaction should be one of fear, because fear gets our attention.
Mm-hmm.
But you want that fear to calm down into action or into a philosophy or a style that keeps you safe. They would have these presentations at school to warn kids about A, internet predators, and B, sending pictures that they're going to regret or saying things that they're going to regret. I don't think that the adults that that gave the presentation wanted her to remain frightened. I think they just wanted her to be aware because honestly, I think that the internet. Jake always makes fun of me when I say this, but I think that internet and the way we behave follows or adheres to the laws of physics. In other words, there is an equal and opposite reaction to everything we say and do, whether you type it or whether you say it. So, for example, if I were to say to Howard, I think your car is stupid and I can't believe you bought that stupid car, it makes you look stupid. He could react and say something bad to me, or I could say, I think Ron's car is stupid, and I may think it's between me and Howard, but Howard's going to turn around and say, Ron Weezy thinks your car is stupid. So there's really nothing we say that's a secret. So why should there be anything on the internet that doesn't leave a footprint? Like, really, everything we do leaves a footprint. It should just be a life philosophy. I know internet, when it comes to internet, there's safety involved. Hands are going up. Kimute?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think the scary thing about the internet is that you can look somebody's name up and then see what, like, there's a record of it, whereas with other people it's just hearsay, like, oh, he said that, she said that.
Yes,
and it's like, oh, that's just a rumor, I never said something like that. Nico, did
That's
you
a good point.
Yeah, first off, Ron is a total gossip girl. And secondly, I was talking to you one time, and you were telling me that on Our Place, you're trying to get the people on there to kind of learn that with you not being able to delete your own posts.
Right. Well, we sort of have a policy where we don't allow people to delete posts because we want people to feel responsible for what they do post. And if they could just say, you're sassy, you big-headed freak, and then take it off, then they will. Hands are up, Ryan.
Yeah, well, I think something that's kind of interesting about the internet and the way that you discuss things is that it's almost like you're announcing it to everyone. So when you talk on the internet, you're talking to everyone because it's not just the people who are around you. And when I post to Facebook, I have something like 1,000 friends. I would never talk to 1,000 people at once, but any one of those friends on Facebook could see what I post. So there's a certain size aspect of it, and then the other side is just kind of a quick anecdotal story. But when I was younger, I played Club Penguin nonstop, and my friend's mom printed out some article about basically a Predator story on Club Penguin, and it freaked me out, right? And she showed it to me and my friend because she was worried about us. But ultimately, I just didn't go on for a month, kind of like what this girl saying she was really worried, and it just kind of freaked me out. And eventually, I learned the idea that it's if someone is talking to me and they're like, oh, you have any pets? It's totally okay for me to be like, yeah, I have a dog. That's not going to they're not going to come find me because of that. But if they're like, what's your first and last name in school? Then that's a different story. So part of it is reading the situation, kind of understanding where you're at. Montana, what do you think?
How can you stalk someone via pull-down conversation menus?
It's very possible.
Oh, really?
Very
No,
possible.
on Club Penguin, you can actually type stuff. You
I
can't.
thought you had to select. Hi. How are you? I
Good.
thought you had to select when Jake had it. I thought you had to
There was I remember there were chat rooms where you couldn't say anything.
All
There were
right.
pull down chat rooms, and then there was also just free
Well,
chat.
don't tell Jake that other kids could type because he only had the option where he had to select a sentence. Montana.
Oh, and the other thing about the internet, this I find more so affects famous people, but it can also affect normal people. Be prepared. Anything you say on the internet can also be taken completely out of context, which is even scarier than real life, because in real life you can if you say something and they only hear that part of the conversation, you can explain the beginning. But with the internet, that quote can have the potential to go viral.
Yeah.
Mickey?
We just had this discussion at school. An advisor was talking about how when you post something on the internet, it's like writing something on the bathroom stall. And I don't think I think the problem with social media is that not enough kids recognize that. And I think I think the fact that this person's afraid of the internet is better than her not being afraid.
Right, but we do want her to just feel what it feels like to understand what potential consequences there may be, and to not really live the rest of her life afraid of the internet. Just like driving or some of the other things that we endeavor to do, we have to realize that you're in a vehicle that could kill someone. You are not going to kill someone,
But you have the potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyo.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that there is some I wouldn't say you should be afraid, but be careful, because things that you say can be taken out of context and things. And I mean, I don't know whether she's scared of internet predators so much, or of whether or not what she's saying is going to be taken out of context.
Right.
But I think that you can just be careful, and I mean it's difficult. Like even in like day-to-day life, you could give somebody a look, and then they could be like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Like that kind of thing happens. So I mean, things that you say can be taken the wrong way. It's not always black and white, and I mean, just like in real life, it's the same case on the internet.
I try to treat the internet as if everybody and anybody could see this. This could be in my father's inbox tomorrow morning, and my mother could walk by the computer and read this afternoon. That's just, I don't type anything that I'm not going to be held to. You can put my feet to the flame of whatever
Absolutely.
I write. It's good, it's going to be okay for anyone to read it. So, in other words, if I have a problem with a coworker, if I really want to discuss it like in depth, I would pick up the phone and speak to someone, because those words are not those words you could say, wow, I don't know what to do. This person is really becoming a challenge. I wouldn't type that as quickly. I would say things more readily than I would type, because there is a record of what you type. But you could call someone and say, what are we going to do about Johnny? You know, Johnny is like, he lost his temper again this week. I don't think I'd type that, because that could get forwarded to Johnny. And then it's like, it's not that I wouldn't say it to his face. It's just I wouldn't want him to read it before I'm ready to explain to him how I feel.
Absolutely.
That's kind of... So there's a lot of hubbub going on around. We are Our Place Out Loud. You can give us a call at 888-531-7171. That is if the phone is working. That may be what the hubbub is about. Maybe the phone doesn't work. So if you're trying to call... We have a mic that doesn't work. I see. And then Justin just knocked over a camera. That could be an issue.
I thought your thing was to never address the hubbub and just act like it wasn't happening.
act
Oh, no,
like,
no, that's
yeah,
not my
just-
thing at all. My thing is to become completely
Well, but I thought,
distracted.
I mean, I know that's what your thing is, but I thought your thing was supposed to be not acknowledging it.
I'm not there. I haven't reached that standard. Ryan.
There were just a couple different things I was going to say more along the lines of social media and communications, which is what you were saying about, like, if you say, Johnny, what are we going to do about him, you know? If I sent something to Jake that was like, you know, Wheezy was such a jerk the other day, but he was at your house and you were just sitting on the couch next to him, I've always, like, considered things like that. Like, it might not be someone forwarding it or letting the other person know, but phones, like, my phone's sitting right there. If someone
Yeah.
texted me something about Keo, he'd see it, you
Yeah.
know? So there's an issue with that. And then the other one is, like, it almost is... if you even if you erase something at the origin, it spreads so fast that, like, if you
Yeah.
think of something like WikiLeaks, where everyone, like, not everyone, but a lot of people have basically, like, copies of WikiLeaks. So when the website is eventually taken down, which it has been, it just is re-uploaded by people.
Yeah,
So
because
you can
just screen cap it, or anything that you send. Like, the assembly or the presentation was correct. Anytime you hit enter is permanent.
It's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there.
And we are with Chantal Christie, and
Hey.
we want to hear a little bit about your makeup line, because I know you have more than just a book and an album. You're like a triple threat.
Yeah, I
And-
call myself a hot young
and
Jane. That's
do-
like the definition of, like, it's like a jack of all trades, but the female version. Like,
If
we
I
just do everything.
If I wore makeup, your line would be my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm going to do, like, I don't know, something for guys. I haven't decided yet.
Great.
So let's talk about your make, because you're 20. Do you understand how young you are?
I'll be
This is
21
not
in June. So
Okay.
weird.
All right, so explain the makeup line and how that got started.
Chantel Nicole Cosmetics. I've always been into all things girly. I think that I've always been the ultimate girly girl / tomboy, if that's even a thing. Like, I'll, like,
It
have
is
on
now.
lip gloss, but then I'll be in, like, basketball shorts. And I think that I've just morphed into this child of, like, my father and my mother. Like, she was just always so dolled up, and my dad was always in his sweats. So I became, like, the alien. And so Chantel Nicole Cosmetics, it kind of stemmed from my love for all things girly. And what I love about Chantel Nicole Cosmetics, not only are we cruelty free and paraben free, so we're missing all of the, the harsh things that are in most makeups today. We cater to all shades. A lot of times there are shades of lipstick or lip gloss that don't really look great on all skin tones. And I worked really hard in the lab to see to it that all of my colors had, kind of an undertone that would look great on people that aren't normally willing to step outside of the box and gravitate toward a different color. And so that's my baby right now, and I'm expanding. I'm going to do some eyebrow palettes, some winged liner, bronzer, but right now it's just lipsticks and lip glosses.
Rhodey has a question for you.
Okay.
The difference difference between.
There we go.
You want to know the difference between. Yes, you know the question.
So I was wondering what the difference between eyebrow pencil and eyeliner are.
Yes,
We were
please
having this discussion
talk.
backstage when we were putting on makeup at Cabaret.
Start talking.
Okay, so I
You
think that the difference between eyebrow pencil and eyebrow and eyeliner is that eyeliner tends to be a little smoother because it's in such a tender area. Even though it's only, a couple inches away from your eyebrow, but it goes on a little smoother. As far as the eyebrow pencil goes, it tends to be a little harder and a little less easy to get off because it's going on such a something like hair where if you brush up against it, it's gone. And so I think the difference in those two is not only the texture of them, but the size of the pen. Because I don't think I've ever seen two, like an eyeliner and an eyebrow pen that were exactly the same. So a lot of girls like to use eyebrow pencils. A lot of girls like to use the eyebrow palette, which is like the powder with the pen. It's all kind of a matter of personal taste. Yeah, what you like and what looks best on you. And I think that it's necessary for girls to find out what looks good on them and not what looks best on their favorite celebrity.
Nikki needs some makeup tips.
Oh, okay.
How do you actually go about creating a makeup line?
Goodness. For me, it was more so, the great thing about the world these days is that there's Google. So anything that you're looking for, anything that you could ever imagine, you can Google it and you can find it. And so for me, it was a matter of, finding the manufacturer and going there and kind of sifting through a bunch of different options because there are so many options out there. You want to find what works best for you. And so for me, it was, in order to have the product that I wanted, it might have been a little more expensive, or you kind of decide what your standards are and you set them, and then you don't go with anything other than that. So I think making a list of what you're really interested in is like the first goal.
Okay, so we're gonna have a contest,
goodness.
and we're gonna give away Chantel's album and Chantel's book. And the question is. Did I come up with a good question?
You didn't. And I didn't either because I'm terrible at contests.
You didn't like the question that I had?
What was your question?
Well, should you start with darker colors and go up, or should you start
I don't know.
It depends on your...
It depends on personal preference, honestly.
All right.
I mean, I've seen YouTube gurus
I have a good question.
Everything.
What is your dad's first name?
Okay.
What is
Well,
your dad's
I can answer that right now.
No,
No,
don't.
it's not fair. You got a book
He's
for
a
free.
basketball star. What is her dad's first name?
Or what eyeliner looks best on Keo?
What eyeliner looks best on Keo? Give us a call at 888-531-7171. If you can answer our trivia questions, then you will win this and an Our Place hoodie, which is perfect for summer if you don't want to get burnt.
Not
All right, we're going to jump in and do a question from Andrea. I like this guy, and we're good friends. So good that he tells me his crushes, which are 2 girls. He's liked them for a while, and it turns out they don't like him back. He doesn't know it. How do I get him to see me as more than a friend and forget about the 2 girls? So what I responded to this question was, you don't necessarily want to be the bearer of bad news if you want the boy. Because, are you thinking, Chantel?
No, I want to hear what you're saying.
Because if he finds it out just kind of organically, that you're the one who's always been there and has, always just been consistent and loved him as a friend throughout all of this, then when he finds out that those other girls don't reciprocate his feelings, you'll be there. But if you're the one like, you should totally like me because those 2 don't like you, like, that's just, it's too abrasive, it's too jarring, it's too painful. You're the one who hurt him. So, Ryan, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I was reading it and listening to it again, I was like, okay, this sounds like a pretty good question. And then I heard, forget the other 2 girls. And, that's too malicious.
Yeah.
When you want him to forget the other 2, then you're, starting a new problem. And also what you said, bearing the bad news is never good. But through, my experience with, just being interested in people, you can't really, make me like you. As a friend, you can. You can be nice to me. I'd be like, I like spending time around you. But, romantically, you could be the most romantic, nicest person ever, and I might not be interested in you.
No, it's very true that you can never really define what causes romantic love. It's this whole mysterious thing. That's why there's so many songs and books and poems and movies written about it. It fascinates us. But since the arc of your growing up is currently in progress, there's every possibility that he could find out that you're the one he's romantically attracted to once he gets this other stuff out of his system and realizes that you. I mean, I'd give it a 50-50 shot. So you don't want to just disappear. Or what are you thinking, Chantel?
I think that the thing is, I didn't personally go through this, but a close friend of mine did. And my advice to her just days ago was, it was a situation where one of them was moving, out of the state, and basically, if you feel a way about someone, I think that it's necessary to let them know, because a lot of times you live with that, and it kind of eats away at you, and it jades you from building future relationships or becoming great friends with someone, because then you're like, well, what if he's not going to see me the way that I see them, or
Right.
And so I think just being very honest with yourself and honest with that person, it's a healing process for the both of you, because if he's not interested in you, you don't want to lose a good friend by secretly being interested in him for like 5 years.
No, you don't want to put 5 years into it.
No.
But if they're 12 or 14, you maybe want to put 6 months into it.
Yeah.
But you may want to just say, without telling him that the other girls don't like him, you may want to just sort of say, I like you.
I'm kind of, just a little bit.
Hold that thought. We're going to go to the phones real quick. Hello? Who have we?
Hi, this is Portia.
Hi, Portia. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. This is Chantel.
Hi,
Yeah.
Portia. How are you?
Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm doing good. I just wanted to
Don't
say
be
hi,
nervous.
that
You're making me
really, really
nervous.
amazing, and I enjoyed watching the show. That's all I really wanted to say. What was this all about, actually? I just barely saw it on Instagram, and I just caught the number, and I'm like, I want to see if I can just meet her and just talk to her.
Well,
I know I sound so corny, but
No. It's okay. I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate the support. You have to check out the podcast and watch the whole interview so that you can hear all the juicy stuff that we're talking about.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, girl, I just wanted to say hi.
Okay, make sure you tweet me. I'll tweet you back.
Okay, thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
Thanks for
sweetie.
calling in.
Okay.
We love you.
All right.
You
have a good day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye. We are at 888-531-7171. I assume that's a Basketball Wives
Always
fan.
make me nervous.
Why do they make you nervous?
I
They
don't
love
know.
you.
Like even in the mall, they come up and they're like, "Can I have a picture?" And I'm just like,
But how
like you guys
cute
are making me sweat."
was
Like,
she?
no.
She was so cute.
She was so cute. But it worries me a little bit because there are a lot of times when there are very sweet people out there, but then there are a couple that are a bit much. And I've been to a couple malls, couple places, and girls are like, "Oh, you're Jackie's daughter," like, and they want to fight, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, like this is just TV. Like everybody just calm down for a second." So I'm very cautious, but I'm very appreciative of everyone out there that loves and supports me, and they act like she does, because it's just I view myself as it's just Chantel, So for people to want to meet me and take pictures with me and speak to me, it's very humbling.
Ryan wants to speak. Yes, Ryan.
Oh, I didn't mean to change the subject. I was going back to the question, but
Okay. Yes.
is
go back.
that cool? I didn't
Yes.
know, like.
no,
Very cool.
Okay, sorry. No, I was just gonna say that part of understanding people though is also not understanding them. I know that sounds really confusing, but when I was a freshman, I had my first girlfriend, and I ended up finding out she liked me because I thought she didn't like me, because I liked her and she kept trying to set me up with her other friends, and like apparently her friends told me like that's a thing she does when she likes guys. She tries to set them up with other people.
Who does that?
This person.
Her. That's masochistic.
Smart people, obviously.
It's like it was confusing, but sometimes you don't understand where people are coming from. And then also freshman year was a messy year. Also in freshman year, there was a girl who I knew didn't really like me, but kind of like Chantal was saying, like you sometimes just got to tell people how you feel.
gotta get it out
And I was
there.
like, I'm like, I knew she didn't like me, but I liked her, and I just let her know. And then we've been good friends since, because like I'm just
'Cause you were
we can,
honest.
Yeah, exactly. We can be open with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that you don't go more than like maybe 6 months without really just finally just saying, you know what, I like you. You cannot have these like loving alone forever relationships. It just teaches you that that's what you're going to get out of life.
Yeah. And it causes you to question yourself and say, why doesn't this person want me? Or
And
why
to
doesn't this person care?
miss all the guys who
That are really interested
yeah.
in you.
Yeah, Montana.
And a lot of the time when you don't think somebody likes you, but then you tell them that you do, they either they respond to it in two ways. One of them, it's just like, "Oh, I don't really like you, sorry." But a lot of the time it's like it's like they develop feelings for you, or they're like, hey, I secretly liked you too, which surprisingly works out a lot. So, I mean, there's no harm in trying.
But at the same time, I don't think it's good to have a relationship with someone who likes you because you like them.
Oh, no, not because of that, but sometimes they don't see you as, like, romantically, and then once you tell them,
Okay,
they can
that's true.
start to, like, see that.
Because there's definitely both sides of it. There's definitely people who are like, oh, someone's interested in me, I'm now interested in them. And then there's also like what you're saying,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
like
Yeah,
once
but-
they put themselves in the spotlight, you kind of look at them
I
in the
mean,
spotlight.
I get the point that you're making, Ryan, but what you have to understand is that love is this mysterious thing. And so once you say to a person, I'm an option, they may suddenly look at you more clearly.
No, I get it
and
in that
see,
sense.
And see the awesome person that you are, where they hadn't ever thought of you as a romantic option, and now you're a very clear romantic option.
So it's a
they're
light
not just
switch.
they're not just yes, it's a light switch.
Yeah, like I did.
Yes.
I agree with that. Like I was saying a minute ago, like once they put themselves in the spotlight, you can see them in the spotlight. Like I agree with that. But I also know there's some people who just the idea of being liked is what they like in the person.
Yeah.
And that's kinda
not fair
different.
to the other person.
Right.
I mean, we all sort of love to be appreciated, and we all sort of we tend to fall in love. This is something I learned from Oprah. We tend to fall in love with someone who likes the things in us that we value in ourselves. It's like, oh my gosh, this person must be a genius because he appreciates my beautiful singing voice. So I'm in love with him. So love is it's just this oddball thing that if the person is decent and kind and caring, then they deserve at least enough of your attention to see whether or not you could have romantic feelings. Kyo.
I hear what you're saying, and I feel like it's more like not even just they like the idea of being liked, but they just want a girlfriend or they just want a boyfriend.
Oh, like anyone will do?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not like like in middle school that tends to happen. Like I knew guys who would be talking to me and was like, yeah, any girl who liked me, I would go out with them, or I'd be like, what are you talking about? Why? That's weird.
It also could be like
crazy.
for the first time, you just kind of want a girlfriend or a boyfriend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it may not be doesn't have to be the exact right person. I just want to have the experience of dating someone and having a romantic,
Which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, just to have the practice.
But don't make it a
Marriage
repeated
thing.
Yeah.
That's why we we don't date. We don't marry on the first date. Nico.
Yeah, Ryan and Keo are definitely right on this one. There's definitely like that risk that they're only gonna like you because you like them, and that's not really a good basis for a relationship, in my opinion.
But it's not a reason not to tell a person.
Right,
Exactly.
wait,
I'm about to say
You shouldn't
that.
shy away from it because of that.
Exactly.
Right.
Surprisingly, Montana's advice here is pretty good.
But if you're on the receive, like it's definitely something not to shy away from. But if you're on the receiving end, just be wary of being pulled into the idea of like, oh, a girlfriend, that sounds like a good idea, and more so, oh, this person is someone I want to spend time around. Like that. That's the distinction.
Then again, there does need to be a starting point to a relationship. Like if you didn't know you liked them before, then you kind of gradually build up to it. Like, hey, what could go wrong? I mean,
I guess yeah. There at least has to be more to it. There's definitely somewhere to start, but I think it needs to be a little deeper than like, I want a girlfriend.
yeah. But one risk I'm really gonna kind of emphasize with this, I see a lot in some of my guy friends. It's don't be friends with a girl just so you can eventually date her. Like I see that too much in guys, and this is like the first time I've seen it in a girl, and it's just a really bad relationship because what do you do if they say no? You're just gonna stand there awkwardly and be like, all right, I guess I'm not your friend anymore. You're not interested. I mean,
Well,
that was like my main method. So.
I mean, what do you do then?
exactly. How do you get to
How do you get to know her? Yeah.
Well, don't be their friend just to eventually date them. Be their friend, but if it comes to that,
I mean, that's what. I get what you're saying. Like, you don't want to feel like you're using them, but
there's-
yeah,
just
I feel like
involved in
I'm.
everything.
I feel like I'm really like wrecking the definition.
No,
here.
what you're saying is like you shouldn't stop being their friend once they say no. You should be their friend because they're a
But you
good
do
person.
get to take several large steps away if it's hurtful
Definitely.
to only be friends with someone you're in love with.
Yeah, but you shouldn't think about them as though like, oh, now I don't want to be friends with them because they don't like me. I was only friends with them because I thought maybe I had a chance. It makes sense to say I'm hurt. I need to step away.
Right,
I
right.
can't handle.
And do step away if you have to, because I've seen people
Yeah.
become like spiteful over it. And Ryan,
Well, for sure, and kind of just along the lines of that is like I was saying the freshman year story where I just like, told that girl I liked her. We were friends beforehand, mostly because I wanted to get to know her, eventually to date her, and then she didn't want to date me, and we're still good friends. So it has to do with like, if you shouldn't be friends with someone just to date them. It should be because you want to get to know them and hopefully one day date them if you're interested in them.
Yeah.
So that's what you're trying to get at, right?
Yeah, exactly. See, these guys just speak for me, honestly. And Montana, too.
We're
so
gonna
that's
go to
That's
the
what they
phone
all
real-
say.
Yeah, Montana's a genius. We're going to go to the phone real quick. Hello.
Don't get carried away, Weezy.
Thanks for calling our place. Who's this?
It's Mrs. Jordan Chris Culver.
Hello, Mrs. Culver. Would you like to say hello to Chantel?
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Do you have a question
Good.
for...
It's got finished with the performance. So, yeah.
Oh, say that again, honey. I missed that.
Got finished with a performance.
Oh, what did you perform? Was it cabaret?
Carmina Burana.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Did you have a question for Chantel or for the panel, or did you want to weigh in on one of the topics we've been discussing tonight?
Well, since I've been on stage the entire time. Sorry.
Are you still on stage?
No, we just got out and people.
Because there's some interesting acoustics. Yes.
People don't realize I'm on the phone.
Oh, people don't realize you're on the phone. But see, she has a record of calling the show every week, so she's
Really?
not about to, she's very consistent. So this is her phone call. We're going to let you go, honey, and then we'll talk about you. Thank you for keeping up your flawless attendance record. We are Our Place Out Loud. I am Louise Palanker here with Ryan, Kiamute, Montana, Nico, Nikki, Rhodey, Jake, and, of course, our guest, Chantel Christie, who really kind of grew up in the spotlight. And one of the things we were talking about during the pre-show, which I think is very interesting, is that when your dad would get, I guess they don't call it transferred in sports, but when your dad...
Traded.
Wheezy. Wheezy.
Look, all the basketball buffs are like, wait a minute, Weezy. Wait a
Ryan's looking
minute.
pissed.
Even Jake would know that.
Like, would he just come home and be like, hey, kids, start packing? Like,
Yeah, kind of.
oh, my God.
Wait, so did you guys move around with each team that he
Yeah,
played for?
we did.
Because I know like a lot of players have like off-season homes, but you guys moved around for each one?
Yeah, well, we had an off-season home in Seattle,
Oh,
but
okay,
yeah,
cool.
we moved to anywhere that he went, we went. So it was kind of the Army brat lifestyle, but it was I think it was very necessary in order for me to later have a career in entertainment and just in life in general to learn how to adapt to people and adapt to certain situations very quickly.
Was there a concern that, this person wants to be my friend because my dad's a basketball star?
Yes, all the time. Like I had teachers tell me, like, listen, if you get me tickets to the game, I'll give you an A on your
Really?
it was-
My
yeah,
God.
I've experienced some crazy.
I'm
stuff.
sorry, but I would totally do that.
You
I
would
would,
totally do that.
if my
I was never the one.
if my dad was a basketball player, I would be
was
like,
never
Dad,
the
Dad,
one.
I need an A. Come
I
on.
was never the one. It never interested
You're a
me.
better person than Ryan, but that's not saying a lot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no hitting below the belt.
Oh, wait.
Our
wait,
place,
no,
love and
Nico.
peace.
Was moving to Toronto like significantly different than like the rest of like because your dad played for
it's
Toronto,
so
right?
Yeah, he
Canadian.
played for the Raptors. I actually loved it. I lived there when I was very young, and I think that living in Toronto, it adapted me to a much different lifestyle in
Tim Hortons?
comparison in comparison to living
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a Texas or somewhere else. Living in Canada, it was the money's different, the people are different, the food is like everything is so different. And so I was blessed enough to experience that at a young age, and I think that having been in that situation, it ultimately formed me into who I am today.
That's
I want to go back.
I'm so... I have... I grew up in Buffalo,
Okay.
so Buffalo and Toronto are neighbors.
Neck
It's
and
South
neck.
Canada.
Yeah.
It's neck and-
We're half Canadian in Buffalo, honestly. We love it so much. So I want to read this question real quick from Psycho Wolfie. When I look into the mirror, I look away as fast as I looked. I hate my body. I'm trying to lose weight, but it's not working. I'm tired of getting made fun of. I'm through. I'm going to starve myself. So, Chantel, what is it about doing something difficult or something challenging that makes people say either I'm going to be overweight or I'm going to eat nothing? What makes people not want to go towards that happy medium? What makes people think it's either this extreme or that extreme? And because just not liking your body type or whatever is just one example of I've seen people say, oh, well, I don't like living. I will have to, harm myself. I don't like being this weight. I'll have to stop eating.
Mm-hmm.
It's is it just a girl thing, or is this guys too, where you never see that there's something you can do about it? It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not drastic. You can't just stop eating because you think you're overweight. So is that addressed in your book, like how to approach a healthy lifestyle and to learn that, hey, this is my new normal. I actually love it.
Yeah, definitely. In I Want to Live, A Teenager's Guide to Finding Self-Love, I definitely touch on the topics of, no crash dieting, no, starving yourself, and all of these ideas that a lot of young girls and even some guys have. They think that if they starve themselves or, if they do all of these crazy diets and crazy fads, that they'll be like the girls and the guys on the magazines. It's just very unhealthy. It's very unnatural. And I won't say that I was ever one of those people that was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to starve myself. But I did go through my fair share of self-esteem issues. And I think that, as I was speaking to you before we started the show, I think that it's necessary to learn to love yourself first and foremost. And then everything else kind of falls into place. And I think that more so than your outer beauty, your inner beauty is necessary. And if you're lacking that, it's not any clothes, any makeup, anything in the world that can ultimately make you feel beautiful.
It won't fix it.
It's not going to work.
Right. Let's see who's on the phone. Hello. Thanks for calling our place. Who have we here?
Hello.
Hello. Who is this?
This is Whitney.
Hi, Whitney. How are you? Thanks for calling the show.
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. Did you want to have a question for Chantel?
Oh, no. I just wanted to call in and say hi. Shani's one of my really good friends, and I'm really proud of her. So I just wanted to say hi.
Whitney's one of my great friends. We've been friends, 6 years, Whitney? Yeah, I want to say about 6 years.
Isn't she doing fantastically, Whitney?
Yes, and I'm super proud of her. So I just wanted to call in and say how proud I am of you.
Thanks, Boo.
Will you come up next time, Whitney?
Yeah. Well, I live in New Orleans, so hopefully if I'm
But
around.
she's into like broadcasting and like
Really?
journalism and all that stuff. Yeah, I want to bring her with me next time.
Are you doing Jazz Fest this week?
I went last weekend.
Okay.
I was planning to go on Saturday, so I hope so.
Okay, go look for my friend Susan Cowsill.
Okay,
Tell her
I will.
Tell her Wheezy sent you.
Awesome.
Tell her Weezy sent you, Whit. Tell her
And she'll
Weezy
say,
sent you.
you need to sit in the back.
So hip.
Sounds like those
Jeez.
commercials.
Weezy.
Okay.
Whitney, you're the
Awesome.
awesomest. Thank you for calling.
Of course. Bye, Shani. Love you.
Bye, Boo. Love you too.
Can I call you Shani?
Yeah.
All right. This is from Dead the Undying. Hey, Wheezy, so this is important, and it's kind of bugging me. We already did that one. Okay.
Wait, can I say something about the body image one that's just a little more?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so not to get all psychological, but we live in a world today of instant gratification. and-
Instagramification.
No.
Just coined it.
That's not what I was
Hashtag that.
saying, Weezy.
Hashtag that.
Weezy, that's not
That
what I
was
that's-
genius.
No, but it's not what I was saying.
Okay, go ahead.
No, we live in a world today of instant gratification, and and we all have this expectation that like action A will equal like a result. You know what I mean?
Result,
so it's like if I stop eating, that's the fastest route to losing weight. But that's not really the solution. You know, we have and I think my generation particularly, I don't mean to be very stereotypical. I also hate like when people are like my generation this, but we kind of have trouble like looking to slow accumulation of positives and like working our way to things, and we kind of just want them to happen now.
Instant,
Which is kind of like, you know, what the internet brings us and stuff. If I want a game, I just hit download. You know, it's that simple. So you look in the mirror and you're like, okay, how can I get rid of this? And it's not how can I work to get rid of this, but what will make it so tomorrow when I wake up it's gone.
Well, they say
you know?
they'll write me now. They say I need to lose 20 pounds by June because I want to wear a bathing suit. You that would be bad.
Right.
Do not do that.
Well, and that's the idea of like you have to work towards something. You can say I want to lose weight at a consistent rate safely, and that's working towards something, and that's also something you can be proud of. I can't imagine you being proud of starving yourself post-starving yourself.
Well, I think it's harder to come up with a way of eating that is productive and healthy than it's easy to say I will not put food in my mouth, chew it, and swallow it. Like
right,
that,
definitely.
That's like a definite control of your surroundings to say no food will enter my mouth, but to have to actually figure out, okay, I'm going to say no to McDonald's, but I'm going to say yes to a veggie burger and some fries that are made in a healthy kind of oil. But I'm going to say no to ice cream, even though the rest of the family's eating ice cream. It's so hard.
If
that takes more control.
If you can get yourself though to have that level of control, then to have the level of control of just saying like I'm not going to eat. Just because eating is like a simple human function, I would think that you would have the level of control to say like this is what I am going to eat.
No, that's the point I'm trying to make. It's actually harder to say I will eat this but not that. I will eat this but not that than it is to simply say I will not eat.
Yeah.
That's easier, and that's why so many people do that.
I want to say that starving yourself is not like it's not going to really get you where you were trying to go, because you starve yourself and then your body is like craving food and fats, and then when you actually do eat, then it's going to turn that straight into fat and store it. So
You trick your metabolism, and you tease your metabolism, especially if you engage in really destructive things like bulimia. That's like really teasing your metabolism and saying, here comes food, and then like, up, tricked you,
and
your metabolism is like super angry, and it takes it out on all your organs and makes everything like...
Right. And then what's going to, I mean, on the topic of what's going to actually make you happy, trust me, you'll be much more happier, like, if you like, work out and, like, do it the right way and, like, just try researching good ways to, like, get healthy and get, like, fit, rather than just, and it's true what you're saying, it is easier to just stop eating because, like, that's just a switch that you can, it's just more simple. It's just like, okay, no more eating, rather than have to figure out what to eat and what not to eat and all of this.
Yeah, that's like a balancing board. If you just go like that, that's way easier than trying to do this. Jake.
I'm going to try and talk from back here now. I'm going to channel Austin in the Buddhist philosophy, right?
Yes.
There's this thing called the middle path, which is, you don't live in poverty, you don't live in luxury. You don't starve yourself, you don't overeat, right? The whole point is that moderation is by far the healthiest thing, because the extremes are really easy to fall into. You just do one thing all the time or none of the time. And that to have self-control is way better, not only for yourself, like mentally, because you have that control over it, but because the extremes are always like harmful in any way, and that the middle path is like the best thing to do for yourself.
Very well said. And it's also it's like working a muscle. Once you figure out how to do moderation, you can keep in balance fairly easily. But at first, it really does take all of your concentration. Montana.
I think part of the reason people do the all or nothing thing and they just don't eat is because there's, in our society and amongst just in people internally, there's this guilt of eating, like, oh, I'm eating, and then it makes you feel bad about yourself that you're doing that. But people don't understand that, like, eating in a way that, like, helps your body and works with your body to make you just as healthy as you can be, that is the best thing you can do, and no extreme will ever achieve that.
And if you think of yourself always as a baby, as a child of the universe, you want to give this baby the right amount of food and the right amount of nutrients to grow and to thrive and be healthy. You wouldn't overfeed the baby. You wouldn't underfeed the baby. You'd be taking really good care. You'd be reading books about what is the best thing to give the baby. And you're always that baby that you once were. You always are. It's just that your mother is no longer responsible for, what you ingest. You are now your own mother. You have to nurture yourself the way the universe wants you to be nurtured. Do you have any thoughts on this, Chantel?
I think that it's very necessary, and I think that I learned that at a very early age. What he was saying was that if you think that you're starving yourself, by the time you finally do eat, your body kind of starts to store that fat, and you just start to see results that you really don't want. And I think that having been in the modeling industry from such a young age, I learned that it's less about the pounds on the scale and what the scale says in comparison to how you overall look, because there are some people that weigh 150 pounds that are, perfectly healthy. And then there are some people that weigh less that aren't. So it's not necessarily about the weight and being a certain size. It's more so about, being healthy and happy with yourself.
Rhodey. Yes, well said.
Muscle weighs more than fat. So, like, if you're exercising and being healthy, you may still weigh the same or weigh more, but you'll look thinner because you have less muscle, but it weighs more, and it's also much better for you and helps your metabolism.
One good way is to determine if you feel good is how your clothes fit. Don't weigh yourself every day. Don't look in the mirror for too long, any longer than it takes to get ready. Don't obsess. You know what obsession feels like. You have to resist obsession. Ryan.
Yeah, real quick. Couple quick points I'm going to hit on. What Rhodey first said, yes, absolutely true. Muscle weighs more than fat. When I was like in middle school, I was kind of pudgy, and I convinced myself I was all muscle because I didn't want to like think of the fact that I was, I should stop eating so much mac and cheese. Another great way just to see if you're out of shape, like when I come back from the basketball off season, my first practice back after like running one like time down the court, I feel like I'm going to die. So you should feel healthy when you do things that will keep you healthy, and that's how you know you're healthy. And then the one other thing I'm going to say, and it's just kind of the last dynamic to this question, is the idea of people making fun of you, because we didn't really touch on that. That's another totally important part of this, but kind of like Chantel was saying, and in her book, I think she says, like, as long as you know who you are, that's the most important thing. So make sure you're not letting the other people define you, and be who you are, but also be healthy.
I love it. Who are you pointing at, Trish? Nico.
Oh, all right. I can kind of go from her perspective because I really personally feel like what you said really earlier about instant gratification has really influenced a lot of lives in a really serious way. Like being able to click and download something, be able to go to the store, get something like really fast nowadays. Instagramification. Yeah, I feel like it's affected my life a lot. And every time since I got out of football, it's been so hard for me to work out. I mean, I've been on something for like a week. I'll be feeling great. I'll miss one day and be like, all right, I guess I'll do it the next day. And then I go off it and I start a whole new thing next month, and then it's all over again. It's a lot why I asked you about your book, because I do the exact same thing when I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's really not easy. Like a lot of people, a lot of my friends will tell me, Nico, it's so easy. I mean, it's not that easy. And I really feel her pain in this. And I feel like I'm just making excuses all the time, and I really just got to push forward like,
but, you know,
she does.
Nico, let me just say this. You do accomplish a lot. Your workload is, like, incredible at your school. You come here every week. You never miss a week. You're very consistent. So give yourself credit for the things that you do. Give yourself little goals every day that are digestible. So that if you make an overwhelming goal, I'm going to run 10 miles. You won't run 10 miles. If it's like, I'm going to walk 2 miles, you will. Yeah. Make it a goal that you can digest. I want to thank Chantel for being our guest. You were wonderful.
Thank you guys so
and
much.
thank you, everybody. We will see you next week on Our Place Out Loud. Bye-bye.
Wait. Oh, never mind. I was going to... Jake put me in charge of announcing that it's Mean Girls' 10th... Oh, it's Mean Girls' 10th anniversary. Woo! Tomorrow.
Tina
So we're
Fey!
all wearing pink because we wear pink on Wednesdays.
even go here.
And Jake told me to say that. Sorry, we had to stop the theme song. Go back.
Matt will get that in.
I've been in here wondering, hoping, reaching, wishing I could find my way. Then I found our place where we can dream and share it. Our place, you'll find a friend to care it. I may look a little hazy to kindness. Your soul may be in tatters. You'll learn what really matters at our place where we can dream and share it. Our place, you'll find a friend to care at. Our place, you're not alone at our place.
Children are not pets. Some children. I mean, like, there's some interesting things about, like, kids of all ages. Yes. Yeah. Like, middle school isn't particularly a good time. Yeah, and I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to have like a 7-year-old.
Parents and the kids. I may as well help them.
Really? I went to a really little middle school and like I hadn't been to school before. Yeah. Wait, what was it called? Star Prep Academy.